If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my music name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out my How I Became a Targeted Individual full story, or summary. Sorry for the hesitation, guys. I was actually thinking about that third video that I recently created, where I went into my 12-hour full story video compilation, and I recorded a clip from that video compilation, just the part talking about how I became targeted, and I provided commentary over it. And so it's 3 hours long. It's similar to the summary, I would say a little bit more in depth. So I would actually recommend, if you don't want to sit there for the full 12 hours and listen to my full story, I would actually recommend you watch that video instead. The video that's titled Commentating over a clip about how I became targeted from my full story video. I don't think that's the title verbatim, but it's something like that. And you can see the thumbnail of me in the orange dress. I just recently posted that video. So I will put the link to all three videos in the description box. So I'll put the link to my full story. And again, like I told y'all, that's hours and hours of content. It's a 12-hour video, but what it is 7 videos that I compiled into one, where I just told you my whole story. So not only how I became targeted, but even the backdrop story, because I've been through somewhat of a spiritual battle since my early 20s. It's been about a decade of what I would call spiritual warfare. It started at age 21, I would say, and has continued all the way to now, age 31. Anyway, so there's that story. Then there's the video I just told you I recently created, where I commentated over a clip that I pulled out of my full story. And then there's my summary video, which is a 2-hour and 40-minute video where I just basically summarize everything, tell you how I became targeted, similar to my commentating over a clip video, except it has less details in it. So that's why I would recommend, if you don't have time to sit down and listen to my full story, I'd recommend you listen to that one, the commentating over a clip about how I became targeted from my full story. Anyway, guys, this is not a long video, just more documentation, actually. You know, I'm so irritated because these last 2 weeks, it seems as though I've been being baited. You know, I've talked about it in my recent videos, y'all. Not only have I been providing a lot of information and documentation about this program, but also documentation about the things that I've been experiencing, especially within the last 2 weeks. And it feels like almost like, obviously, it is baiting. You know, if you've listened to any of my videos, you'll hear me say that it's reactive abuse. So the program is designed to antagonize a person into an adverse reaction. And so that's why it's important that you don't react, at least not negatively. If you react, your reaction should be creating videos, providing documentation, providing evidence, articulating what's going on with you, and basically just counteracting their tactics with documentation and evidence and articulation. That should be your reaction. It shouldn't be you getting mad and exploding, even though that is a natural human response to some of the things that's done to targets in this program. But unfortunately, that's how the program is designed. It's comprehensive. It's designed to get an individual to react to abuse and then hone in on that inappropriate reaction that the individual has. As a matter of fact, I've shared this video several times, but I can't share it enough because it's so freaking pertinent as it pertains to this program. Let me share my reactive abuse video with you all. It's baiting, it's poking the bear, it's reactive abuse. That's what happens in the program. This will not be a long video, guys. Like I said, I'm just providing more documentation about something that I experienced. But before I share that with you all, let me just again, because I know I say again because I've shared this video several times on this channel in several different videos, let me share with you all my reactive abuse video. Good morning. Top of the morning to y'all. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharifa. My music name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please scroll down and check out my How I Became a Targeted Individual summary and or full story, as well as my update video. Because in the update video, I basically just tell y'all about how my prior videos got deleted. I used to have way more videos posted, and most of them I was on camera. Now my newer videos, I'm for the most part off camera because I do not have access to that computer I used to use. And the only videos that I have on camera at the moment is my how I became a targeted individual full story. So that's what's going on right now, guys. Please check that out if you're new to my channel. If you're not new, welcome back. I just wanted to share with you guys this video that showed up in my recommended. Remember I told y'all that they target me through the TV and the ads and stuff. And so they sent this, and I'm just like, are they poking fun at me? Because this is literally the gang stalking program right now. Whether they are or not, I'm so glad they put that video there. I'm about to share it with y'all. This is literally, remember I keep saying don't react, because literally that's how the program is designed. It's called Poking the Bear. I actually had a video, one of my videos that got deleted, of this military agent, I've said this in several videos, that basically was talking about how the program works and that it's designed to incite a reaction, a negative or adverse reaction out of the target. So now I have an actual term for what that's called. It's called reactive abuse. And so let me go ahead and share it with you guys. Reactive abuse is where I do something to provoke the target. I find out what her weak spots are, what her vulnerabilities, her sensitivities are. I deliberately push those buttons. I deliberately provoke her into some sort of explosive outburst, which any human being over time will respond with an explosive outburst given enough passive aggression, slights and little digs here and there and triggering of their vulnerability. Once she's had the outburst, I've got it. Then all I have to do is focus on her outrageous outburst. Maybe she will scream at me and become angry, and then I'll say, oh my God, you're such an angry person, maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe she will start crying and have a breakdown and become very sad and upset, and I'll say, oh my God, you're so weak, what is wrong with you? And then I'll treat her with contempt and disgust, and I'll really focus on the ugliness and the inappropriateness and the hostility of her response. Reactive abuse is where I do something to provoke the target. So guys, that's gaslighting. That's gaslighting, and that's what's done in this program, basically. This is why I keep saying, don't react. Use me as an example. Because my reactions literally made my targeting go viral. And made it as horrible as can be. Because I didn't know how the program worked. Sorry that I sound like this. I have food in my mouth, guys. It's morning time and I'm eating breakfast. But as you guys can see, this is something they put in my recommended. You see that? This is literally just my page. I was scrolling down. Whoops, oh boy, it's gonna reload now. Anyway, you can see that it's in my shorts. It's literally a recommended. It reloaded. I didn't mean for it to reload. But it's literally in my recommended videos. So yeah, this is what they do. They target me to the TV ads, whatever I watch, basically. But that was a good video. I'm actually glad they threw that in there. Anyways, talk to you in the next one. Peace out. Alright guys, so again, sharing that video again with you. You can see what reactive abuse is. That's what's utilized in the program. That's the main tactic used. And they're trying to get a reaction out of you. So that they can, either bake rack you, throw you in a mental asylum, say you're crazy, or throw you in jail because you had this crazy adverse reaction. For me, I'm never going to react physically. I'm not even built like that. I'm a very even-keeled, laid-back person, and I'm not an aggressive person. So that's why it's hilarious to me that I'm here on the watch list under threat assessment. It's hilarious because I've never, ever had a temper. So for me, my reaction will typically be either that I have negative, nasty thoughts, and of course my thoughts are being broadcasted. You all know how this program works. If you're not familiar with the technology utilized on targets, you can check out the last video I posted, Evidence of Mind Control Technology Used on Targeted Individuals, where I provide evidence about the technology that's used to broadcast thoughts, read thoughts, project thoughts into the target's head, project vivid dreams into the target's head, etc. They can even control your body movements if they want to. Anyways, that's what this video is about. This video is a documentation about dream manipulation, because it feels as though these last 2 days I've been being baited and tested. That's what it seems with these dreams. And again, if you're familiar with my story, you'll understand that I've been punished for bearing false witness. That's the long and short of it. So check out my full story summary or that third video I told you all about that I recently created, the commentating video, if you want to hear my story and know what I'm talking about. But I'm very careful about the things I say, because even though I'm likely right with what I'm saying, I've provided evidence that this program exists. I've provided evidence about the technology utilized on targets. I've provided evidence that I am targeted and that I've experienced certain things. But there are certain things that are done. You all know how this program works. It's a no-touch torture program. So it's hard, even though you can prove that the technology exists, and you can prove that you're experiencing odd things. It's hard to prove with concrete evidence that they're doing this to you. So for instance, let me give you an example. If right now they wanted to, God forbid, Yah forbid, beam me with a microwave energy weapon, right, and hit me with some radiation, I can tell you that I'm feeling what I'm feeling, right? I can show you the physical symptoms of me getting sick, and I can show you that the technology exists and is utilized on targets, but I can't prove that they've actually done that to me. So for the sake of bearing false witness, because they do this thing where if I say something and I don't have absolute evidence, even if what I'm saying is true, I get punished for it. So I'm gonna say, although I can't prove that they have manipulated my dreams, I suspect that my dreams have been manipulated these last 2 days. And it feels like they're trying to test me. It's been all stimuli, right? So yesterday, I didn't even want to talk about the dream they sent me yesterday because it was so disturbing, and I proved my point that I'm a good person, because they were trying to test me with that dream. I know what they were trying to do with that dream. And so when I woke up, I even said, you see, I am a good person, because I realized what they're trying to do. Every time I wake up and I realize that they caught me again, trying to catch me up with these dreams, I'm like, well, my reaction was good. So, you didn't get what you wanted, right? So the dream from yesterday, basically it was yesterday morning, I was dreaming. It was very vivid too. This is how I'm almost certain, again, I don't want to bear false witness, I'm 95% certain that it was dream manipulation. But again, it's intangible. It's not something that I can concretely prove. I can prove that the technology exists. I can prove that I'm targeted, but I can't prove concretely that they were the ones that did that to me or sent me that dream. But yeah, put the pieces together, but I'm going to not bear false witness. So anyway, had the dream yesterday that I don't even remember what happened in the beginning of the dream. I can only remember that main part of the dream because it was so vivid and crazy what happened. But I was laying on the floor, right? And this attacker came through. I don't even know how I ended up on the floor, but this attacker came through, and someone in my close circle who has been a big part of my story, only because of some things that I said in my full story being candid and honest. And of course, they like to use your honesty and your words and the things you say against you to create false narratives. Check out my last video, y'all. I talked about that in all of my recent videos, really. The tactics used in this program, how when you're targeted, it becomes a big smear campaign. Eric Snowden talks about that too, so you can look him up. He's a whistleblower that used to work for the Patriot Act. And he talks about the fact that when you become targeted, it's a big smear campaign. He said, hold on, because you're going to be in for the fight of your life. Welcome back to Talk With. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to click on that. But he was saying, hold on, it's going to be the fight of your life, and it's like a smear campaign, and it's constantly you warring with these false narratives and trying to defend your morality and defend your innocence and defend the person that you are. So this is why I said, don't let this program turn you crazy. Understand that this is what it's designed to do. It's designed to persecute you. It's designed to get a reaction, a negative one, try to egg and bait a reaction out of you. So once you've said enough, and you've provided documentation and evidence to defend your honor, I suppose you could say, then you don't need to constantly keep reacting to the things and the tactics done. But there are certain things where I will still react and create a video with documentation, because I understand also that this program is a framing program. So I'm very, very adamant about creating videos right away when they try to do things to frame me. And let me not bear false witness when I suspect they're doing things to try to frame me. So anyways, yesterday, the dream they sent me yesterday morning, I was on the floor, and this person in my close circle that they tried to weaponize against me because of something I said in my full story, and if you check out my other videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. She's standing there going in her car, right, and I'm on the floor, and this attacker is coming through with this bottle of clear liquid, and somehow I knew it was acid. I don't know how I knew. It was the way he was holding it over her head. He's holding it over her head like this, like he's gonna pour it on her, and he's looking at me like this. So I got up off the floor, and I ran to him, and I pushed him against the car. And then he took the liquid and he held it over my head and did the same face. And so I put my hands up to protect myself, and he poured the acid all over my hands. And so my arms got burnt up, and then I woke up. And so I think they were trying to test me, right, to see how I would have reacted in that situation. And if you listen to my full story, you'll understand why they were trying to test me in that situation. But they're literally, it seems to me, like trying to catch me up. I think these videos I'm creating has clearly proven my point and refuted these false narratives. And I think they're desperately grasping at straws, trying to freaking prove that I'm this monster that they want me to be. It's really scary and creepy, right? So anyways, that dream happened, and as soon as I woke up, I was like, see, I'm a good person, because I know they're sitting there watching my dreams like it's a freaking movie. I wouldn't be surprised if they were kicked back with popcorn watching the whole show, right? But anyway, so that happened. So then today, now, this morning, they sent me two very vivid dreams back to back this morning, right? Because, you know, as a target, sometimes you'll be in and out of sleep. I don't know if y'all experience that, but a lot of targets talk about the sleep disturbances that happen when you're targeted because of the neuromonitoring, because of the utilization of these weird high science technologies that's connected to your brain system. Typically, targets have insomnia. So I'm one of those targets. I wake up throughout the night, and I've already always been a person that naturally wakes up throughout the night anyways. Nowhere near as much as I am now that I'm targeted. Before being targeted and before being microchipped, I would wake up once or twice, if that, in the night, roll over, go back to sleep. Now it's to the point where I'm waking up, it seems like almost every 2 hours, right? Or if I wake up at a certain point in the night, it takes me hours to get back to sleep. It's this weird thing that's happening now. And to me, I was just more so attributing it to being watched and surveilled and just feeling uncomfortable. That's what I was thinking. I thought it was psychological, you know, like waking up, you know, probably just doing that natural wake up that my body does anyway. And then it's taking me longer to get back to sleep because they make the noise campaigns to remind you that they're watching you. You know, they might make like a cricket drone go off in the background, or a bird drone, or one of these little things that they use to remind you that you're being watched, or make a dog bark, something like that. And so you're constantly being reminded that you're being watched, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. So I attributed my insomnia to that. I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just because they're watching me. That's why it's taking me hours to get back to sleep when I do wake up. But the more I watch other targets and their experiences, and the more I understand how this technology works, I'm realizing that likely my insomnia is due to the neuromonitoring. So anyways, that's what's been happening. Been having insomnia, and sometimes, you know, I don't really get sleep until morning time. And so this is what was going on this morning. And this is also why I'm glad I've been working out, guys, because that has helped me so much. No matter what they do with their neural monitoring, and let me not say they do, like they absolutely are doing that. No matter what I suspect that they're doing with this technology, the working out has been helping me. It's been making my body tired enough to sleep. Because typically I'm used to working. I'm the kind of female that usually has multiple jobs. You know, I told y'all how I was in college. I had 3 jobs. I was a substitute teacher. I was working for the post office. I was doing security at night, and I had a full load of classes. I'm used to working. I'm used to having an active schedule and being active. In addition to working out, I usually throw a little working out in my schedule as well. So now that I've been home kind of just twiddling my thumbs with nothing to do, you know, that also doesn't help with the sleep at night, because it's like I'm full of energy. If all day long I'm doing nothing, then I'm not tired at night. And so I started hardcore working out and training myself. You know, I told y'all about that and how I will be coming with new videos. That's really what I want my newer videos to be about. Positive things like my workout journey, going back to school, you know, natural hair videos, holistic health videos, maybe talking about how you can clean the tech out of your body, because I do have a lot of information on that as well. Things like that. Maybe a tutorial on how to build an anti-nano bucket, which is a device that you can use to create some sort of EMP generator that pulls the tech out of the body. I had 3 videos like that posted. I mentioned that in I believe my last videos when I mentioned that. But those were amongst the videos that got deleted when my initial computer that I was recording my videos on got confiscated. And I talked about that in my 2 recent videos, guys. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, you can scroll down to my update video. And I talk about how that happened. The update video with the red update button in the thumbnail. If you click on that, you can find out how my videos got deleted. But I had way more videos posted, guys, where I was actually on camera. You know, right now, the only video that I'm on camera for is my full story 12-hour compilation, 11 and change hours, how I became a targeted individual video. The summary video, you see a thumbnail that looks like I'm on camera, and that's because that thumbnail is actually from one of my videos that got deleted. And that thumbnail is the quality of the camera that I was using on the computer that got confiscated. But anyway, so I only have one video where I'm on camera now. That summary video, that's just a thumbnail. I'm not on camera. But my full story, I am on camera. That's the only video right now where I'm on camera. So I'm trying my darndest, guys, to get access to a computer that has a camera that I can use, so that I can do a workout video for you all. Not workout like I'm walking you through a workout or anything like that, but just like an update video, just show you what my progress is right now, and just kind of like let you guys, I don't know, I guess come along with me on my workout journey. Just keep giving y'all updates on what's going on with that. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do with the future videos if the Most High spares my life. I'm not trying to give this program any more of my energy. I don't want to keep making videos about the program. And honestly, too, I've already said this. I feel like I've posted, not feel like, I know that I've posted more than enough information, not only to refute and counteract the program and false narratives, but also giving information about the program and the technology used. So I know a lot of targets can get information from my page and can benefit from my page. So I don't feel like I need to make any more videos about this stuff, and keep giving it my energy. But there are moments like now where they do something to try to frame me or catch me up, or I suspect that they do something to try to frame me and catch me up, and I feel like I need to defend myself because I know how the program works. I've experienced it, and I know how they can run with little minuscule things and create these weird false narratives. So, anyways, guys, so this is just documentation. I hope I didn't go off on a tangent. I did a little bit, but those things I said needed to be said. But when I said go off on a tangent, I think I was saying something, and I hate when that happens. Like when I listen back to my video and I realize there was something I was saying and I trail off into a different thought and I don't complete that thought. That bothers me so bad. I'd be in the comment section trying to, finish what I was saying, but I don't think there was anything else I needed to say, and I don't want this video to be too long. Anyway, so guys, this is just, long story short, documentation of dream manipulation, or what I suspect to be dream manipulation. So there was that dream from yesterday morning. Then this morning, I woke up. I was sleeping, and if you listen to my full story, you'll hear about my history with alcoholism. I did have 2 years where I was a blackout drunk in my mid-20s, and I explained why that happened. What I was going through at the time, and I talked about my experience in vivid detail in my full story. I think I touched on it in the summary as well. And throughout my videos, y'all will hear me talk about that. I'm very candid about my past and the things that I've been through, and how they tried to take that and use it to warp and create false narratives, which I've refuted every single one. Anyway, so I was a blackout drunk for 2 years after leaving school for the first time. So I left this island that I was born and raised on, went to community college, went through some things up there, some pretty serious things. If you listen to my story, you'll hear about it, right? I ended up having to leave community college because right before graduating, I failed this math class 3 times in a row due to my ADD. So although I had a 2.7 GPA or an 80% grade point average, I still lost my financial aid because of the completion rate going down. And at the time, we were not aware of the fact that we could use my ADD as a disability so that I could stay in school. We didn't know that back then. So basically, I was out of school. I was going through some personal things in my life, ended up coming home, went through some more personal things. Listen to my full story, guys. The reason I'm saying personal things and not giving details is because I have a bad habit of repeating things that I've already said in my newer videos. And then the video ends up being way longer than I want it to be. And if you're somebody that's been following me, you know what I'm talking about anyways. You're probably like, yeah, she's finally not, because it's almost like an OCD, where every video I feel like I need to repeat stuff because I know there are new people coming to my channel daily, and I don't ever want anyone to be lost. So that's why I'm feel like constantly I have to keep you up to date with the details, when that's what putting links are for. So like I said, I'll put the link to my full story and y'all can check out the story. But anyway, so anyways, I was a blackout drunk for 2 years in my mid-20s, early to mid-20s. And then for 1 year, I was a functioning alcoholic after I cleaned myself up. Then I completely cleaned myself up, left Island, went back to school for the second time, for 2 years, was in school, graduated magna cum laude, worked 3 jobs for 2 years, had myself completely together, and even in those years I was a blackout drunk, by the way, guys, I never got into trouble. I was never someone that got into trouble. The only trouble I got into was that I got raped. So listen to my full story and you'll hear about that. but I've never been somebody that had I don't want to, I'm careful with my words, I don't want to offend anyone, but I've never had any brush-ins with the law, never even had a speeding ticket before being targeted. So I want y'all to understand that everything that happened to me as far as law goes started after my targeting. The 3 back-to-back car accidents I talked about in my full story, the incident with the law enforcement officer in Indiana when I tried to relocate off of this island after my targeting had kind of exploded. That run-in with that law enforcement officer happened after my targeting. So none of the things that have happened to me recently, as far as brush-ins with the law, and even still, those are not real brush-ins. I still don't have, anything major that has happened to me with law enforcement aside from being targeted illegally. But anyways, that's it. I've never been in trouble with the law. So don't let them, try to warp your view of me because I have a past as an alcoholic. And I've been very open about that past. And I've talked about my experience in my full story. So please listen to it. I break down everything. I'm very adamant about articulating things because I know this is a big smear campaign with this program. Anyway, so understand when I was targeted, I had been sober for a long time. And not only that, I had graduated magna cum laude and I had held down 3 really good jobs for 2 years straight. So understand that. So the targeting had nothing to do with my past as an alcoholic. It was really just, again, like I said, bearing false witness and a misunderstanding. And if you listen to my full story, you'll hear the innocence in my bearing false witness. You'll hear that I had no malicious intent and that this is an overdue in punishment, what's happening really. Anyway, so let me continue with the dream manipulation though. I felt like I needed to give you that little backdrop so you could understand this next stimuli. And if you're somebody that's subscribed to me and that's been following, you understand anyway. I didn't need to say all of that. But just in case you're a new subscriber and you still sat through this video before listening to my story, that's why I felt the need to quickly say that, right? So anyways, forgot what I was going to say. So this next stream they sent me this morning, the first thing was one about liquor, I guess trying to test to see if I would drink. Now, mind y'all, I've been sober completely for a year and change now because when my targeting started, it started in 2020. And remember, I told you I had been in school for 2 years and change. Not 2 years and change. I was in school for 2 years, but then I stayed up there for a few months after graduating. But I've been up there sober, right? Worked 3 jobs, held down 3 jobs for 2 years. I was a substitute teacher, I reiterate. A carrier for the post office, and if anyone knows about that job, it's a very difficult job. I was a night shift security officer, and I was an English major, meaning I was writing papers in abundance over and over again for many weeks. I had a lot of papers, up to my neck in papers, and I was able to stay afloat. So that's to tell you I was sober and I wasn't drinking, and the people in my close circle knows that. So I came home sober, right? No drinking issue. But after my targeting started, I was teaching for 2 years down here on island, and I started to become a functioning alcoholic. I would say in year 2 of my targeting. So my targeting started in 2020, around June 2020. And I would say I started drinking again 2021, midway through. I want to say like around March or May of 2021. I started drinking again. Not heavily, not like to the point I was in my mid-20s where I was a blackout drunk. But I was drinking to cope with what was happening to me. And stupidly, foolishly, because that's the worst thing you can do when targeted. It's already a smear campaign. And also too, there's so many things going on around you that you need to be cognizant of. So doing drugs, because I've seen other targets doing that too. I've literally gone on targets pages that were like pissy drunk, and screaming at gang stalkers. And I can understand why you would be led to drink or driven to drink or do substance abuse, because it's heinous what happens and the covert harassment and stuff that happens in the program. But that's the worst thing you can do, is to turn to substances. And I understand that. But I keep it real. I kept it real in my story. I did turn back to alcoholism in 2021. And so for a few months there, I was drinking again. Nowhere near as heavy as I was, like I said, in my mid-20s, those 2 years where I was a blackout drunk. But I was drinking. I was drinking beer and wine. You kind of say like a wino. I was drinking beer and wine. Anyway, so I cleaned myself up. And I said, no, I'm not doing this again. I already got myself together. I did so well for myself. I'm not going to let this bullshit situation turn me into an alcoholic again. I said, no way. So I cleaned myself up, for about 5 months, got myself together, stopped drinking the wine and the liquor. And when I say got myself together, I wasn't a drunk to the point, like I said, how I was in those 2 years where I was blacking out. But still, I was using substances to cope with what was happening. So it was alcoholism. I was a functioning alcoholic in 2021. So I got myself sober for about 5 months, and I saved up money, about $4,000, $4,000 and change. And I told myself I would leave island and start over. That was my intention. And then, of course, if you listen to my story, you'll hear that the program followed me. Anyway, so that was my history with alcoholism. I really had 3 active years of alcoholism in my mid-20s. 2 years where I was a blackout drunk, and 1 year where I was a functioning alcoholic. And then years went by where I was sober, right? I even, like I said, graduated magna cum laude, held down 3 very good jobs for 2 years, came home, got targeted, and then in 2021, I started drinking again for a short stint, functioning alcoholic. And then got it together again and said, I'm not doing this, and cleaned myself up again, and decided to relocate, and that was where all the drama happened, and the program followed me. Anyway, so I just know that I have a past with alcoholism, and those of you that have been subscribed, you already know that. I've talked about this very candidly in all of my videos. Anyway, so this morning, the other dream they sent me, right, there's no reason for me to have a dream about alcoholism. I didn't watch a movie with alcoholism in it. You know, that's actually not stimuli that they've thrown at me. They do throw that at me sometimes, but they know I've been sober for a while now, so they don't really throw that at me. They usually throw the other stimuli at me. So it's not programming. You know, I didn't think about drinking. You know, they're in my mind, so they know full well I wasn't thinking about drinking. So for me to have that dream so randomly, I just was like, You know, in addition to the dream I had yesterday with the other stimuli, I'm just like, that's interesting timing. But anyway, so they sent me this dream where I'm just walking, and then randomly I'm in this room with a table full of booze, right? And down here on the island I'm from, they actually have their own specialty wine. It's called Crucian wine, not wine, excuse me, Crucian rum. It's a specialty rum that they make down here with different flavors. You know, I'm on an island, so they have like coconut, passion fruit, etc. And on the table, I'm seeing this spread of Crucian rum. So I'm like, what? You know, and I didn't even catch on that, you know, when you're in the dream and you're in the midst of the dream manipulation, you don't realize you're dreaming. You're just reacting to the dream, right? You don't realize that you're dreaming. And sometimes you don't even have control of what's happening to you in the dream. It almost feels as though you're just like taking a setback and you're a passenger in your own dream. And then sometimes it feels like you're active in the dream and like you're taking part in it. So the liquor is on the table, and I'm just naturally taking off the screw, about to pour me a cup of liquor. And I take the cup and I'm pouring the liquor in, and I said, no, I don't want to drink. I said, I don't want to do this. It's like I caught myself in the dream. I said, I don't want to do this. And I took the cap and I was screwing it back onto the bottle. And as I'm screwing it on back onto the bottle, I hear someone in my close circle, an elder in my close circle, calling my name. And so I turn around and I look to her and I walk to her and I said, I wasn't going to do it. I said I was screwing the cap back on the bottle. And then she said, okay. And as soon as she said, okay, I woke up. So it was this weird dream where they were like trying to test me to see if I would drink again. And I passed that test too. I think that might have, if what I'm saying is correct and I'm not bearing false witness, and they sent that dream to me, which I strongly suspect, you know, they can send you very vivid dreams with the technology. I think I must have pissed them off that I passed that dream too. So that's 2 dreams down, check, that I passed. So then I fell back asleep after waking up from that dream and just kind of chuckling like, wow, they're really trying to test me. I chuckled, I fell back asleep again, and they sent me a 3rd dream. Now remember, y'all, they're trying to paint it like I'm a prejudiced person. Can't be racist, I'm African American, so technically I can't be racist. But they're trying to paint it like I'm this prejudiced person that has an issue with people of different races, nationalities, whatever, which is not the case. That's never been the case. And actually, out of all of my siblings, I've been the one to date. I don't want to say the only one. I think my brothers have dated interracially too. Let me not say the wrong thing. But let me just not talk about other people and talk about myself. I have a history of dating interracially, okay? I've had different boyfriends of different nationalities. I've dated white, I've dated Hispanic. I haven't dated Asian. I contemplated dating Asian. But I've dated different nationalities. So it's not like I have a history of being this prejudiced person that will only date one race and looks down on other races or says nasty things about other races. What happened to me in my car in Florida was an accumulation of and a reaction to months and months of abuse. I tried to leave island. I told y'all what happened. My targeting exploded, started to spread island-wide. They were actually to the point of following me on the road before I left. This is what caused the accidents, just so you know. Yes, it was a reaction. Yes, it was my fault because I chose to drive recklessly. But let's take into account what was going on. You know, if you check out my part 2, let me show y'all real quickly because I talk very vividly about these accidents. I talk about it in several videos. But in particular, let me make sure I'm saying my words correctly. I had to correct myself last video. This video that says part 2, gaslighting and programming of the targeted individual. In that video, towards the end, I talk about my 3 car accidents and what caused them. and my state of mind when they happened. I've never been in a car accident in my life, guys. I'm age 31. I'm turning 32 next month, if the Most High spares my life. Never been in a car accident, never even gotten a speeding ticket. All of a sudden, I become targeted in 2020, and in a span of 2 years, I've been in 3 back-to-back accidents. Come on now, let's use common sense and put 2 and 2 together. It's because of my targeting. They were literally stalking me and following me on the roads. And so what I was doing was I was speeding like a dummy. This is where I'm at fault because I chose to do that. But again, take into consideration what was happening, right? I started speeding from point A to point B to evade gang stalkers. And so the foolishness was that I was driving recklessly. And so it culminated in 3 back-to-back accidents. And 2 of those accidents resulted in me messing up someone's car. You know, the first car didn't get badly damaged, but still it put the person's car down. Their back tire was messed up. I still haven't gotten to pay for it. The last car, that was the worst one. My car got totaled and that girl's car got totaled. So those were the 2 bad accidents. The first accident, thank the Most High, the guy that I hit, his car didn't really take much damage. He had a very old car. I believe it was a Buick, if I'm not mistaken. His car took no damage. He didn't have insurance, so he didn't really even want to interact with the police. So that accident didn't really, go anywhere. But the other 2 accidents were real legit accidents that happened. And so I felt bad about it too. That was also partially, just so you know, that was like 40% of the reason why I tried to relocate off island. 60% was because of what was happening, and 40% was because I wanted to get a high-paying job where I could quickly pay off those accidents. And so this is why I started looking into trucking, and I was thinking to myself that I could relocate, get into trucking, quickly pay off those accidents, build up a financial standing for myself. I already had good credit. My credit was like a 700 something when I went up there. Now it's probably in the 400s. You know how this program is, how it can freaking just kind of decimate everything, right? But I had good credit before I left this island. My credit was a 700 and change credit score. No bad history, no cars repoed. Now I have a car that was repoed, a car that I purchased from Carvana, got into a car payment with foolishly up there when I had tried to relocate. And because of the gang stalking and the program following me, ended up having to leave and come back to this island, and the car got repoed. So my credit is terrible now. Which also you're going to hear about that, the dream manipulation with credit score. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So anyways, with the car accidents, that's what caused it. It was me being stalked on the road. And I was just speeding like an idiot, trying to evade gang stalkers and driving recklessly. And so I was hoping I could relocate, get into trucking, pay off, like I said, the car accidents quickly, kind of set a financial ground for myself. I wasn't planning to do the trucking forever. I just realized that was a way that I could get set up financially quickly. And I was seeing a lot of other people talking about the trucking. And I also had started to look into things that I could do to make a lot of money. And this is how my mind works. I'm always looking into different avenues and ways to be successful and to succeed. And this is what I was looking into, how I can make money quickly and pay these accidents off. And so I thought, well, I can do that. Then I can also use the money, because from what I was seeing, I don't know if they were selling me a dream or if this is really how it is in the trucking industry. But from the research I was doing, it looks like you get paid when you do trucking. And like you can really set yourself up financially. I was seeing some people talking about how they use their trucking money to build their own LLC. And then they build their own trucking company. And they purchase their own trucks. And they become owner operators. And then they become millionaires. I was seeing all of that. And I was just in my head calculating how I could make this thing. Because I know how my brain works. I knew I could have made it work. I could have made it work for myself. So that was my plan. And then everything, got sabotaged or whatever. I listened to my story. Y'all know what happened, what my story, the thing followed me. So anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. My God, why did let me try and reel it back in, guys. I went off on a major tangent. I was talking about the dream with the drinking that I passed. The car accidents. Why did I start talking about the car accidents? I don't even know why I started talking about the car accidents, because really what I'm supposed to be doing is telling y'all the third dream that they sent me to bait me this morning. I can't recall why I started talking about the car accidents, but I'm sure I started talking about it for a good reason. Anyway, guys, this might be one of those moments where I don't finish my thought, but I'm going to reel it back into what the video is supposed to be about, because I don't even want it to be too long. And at this point, I'm sure, again, it's longer than I want it to be. Oh, good. Only 38 minutes? All right, let me very quickly tell y'all the third dream. So the third dream they sent me, after I fell back asleep again, after that first dream waking up, I kind of chuckled and went back to sleep. They sent me a dream randomly. I'm in this vehicle, right? And the dream was actually very, very vigorous. It was a very rigorous, excuse me. It was a very in-depth dream, and a lot of activity was happening. I can't even remember exactly what was happening, but I remember it was a very in-depth dream, and I felt like I was escaping and trying to survive the whole dream. You know, it felt like, you know, first I remember kind of being kidnapped by these 3 guys in a house, and I'm literally trying to actively get away from them. And I kept saying, you're being watched on camera, you're being watched on camera, and they're still actively running after me and chasing me. And I remembered hopping through a window, and then somehow I was in a swimming pool trying to swim away and save myself, and then I ended up like climbing over the side of the swimming pool. It was a very, very in-depth, vivid dream. This is why I strongly suspect that it was dream manipulation. Anyway, eventually, I ended up in this vehicle. Oh, I also saw the plaid shirt in the dream too, guys. This is also why I know it was dream manipulation. Anyway, so then I ended up in this vehicle. I can't even remember who I was talking to. If you ask me right now to point out that person that I was talking to in a lineup, I couldn't. I was talking to this faceless, you could say, person because I cannot remember who I was talking to in this van, and somehow we're having a debate about race of all things. Oh, this is what happened. This is how I started talking about the car accidents. Because I was telling y'all that they try to paint it like I'm this prejudiced person. Oh God, I brought it back, thank goodness. And so I started talking about me leaving and what happened and why they're painting me as a prejudiced person. Oh my God, woo, brought it back, whoa. I don't know how I got to talking about the car accident, so that was just part of me leaving Island. I think that's why I started talking about that. Anyway, so when I was in Indiana, because that's where I was going to try and do the trucking thing when I left Island, it turned racial. My gang stalking turned racial. And I don't believe it was the people's fault. It's not like I went up there and they were just off-rip acting racist. I would never lie and say that. That wasn't the case. What happened is an incident on the Greyhound bus that I talked about in my full story happened. Not going to talk about it right now, guys, for the sake of time. But an incident happened on the Greyhound bus with a homeless man, which was a reaction, again, to abuse. Something that happened a few moments prior in the Tennessee station. I was reacting to that. And that was the initial thing that made my targeting go viral. But you hear the plane flying by? I don't know if the phone is picking up on it, but the plane is flying by now. But anyways, that was the initial incident that made my targeting go viral, was my reaction to this homeless man because of what had happened to me in the station. So please listen to my full story again if you haven't, so you can hear the details about that. But that's what made my gang stalking start to go viral, because obviously I was being followed from the time I left Island. But they weren't very overt about the fact that they were following me, and I don't think it was everyone in the vicinity. I think what they started to do was ping out the information about me after that incident on the Greyhound bus, because my targeting literally changed right after that. And that's when I overtly could tell that I was being gang stalked, and a lot of people were involved. And so when I got to Indiana and I got the rental, I was being gang stalked on the road by droves and droves of people. Like, every car on the road was gang stalking me. The inns and the hotels I tried to stay in, all of them were involved. A lot of gang stalking activity in the hotel, outside of the hotel, street theater, etc. Then I had this run-in with a police officer. Nothing major, not a major run-in with law enforcement, but my reaction to the run-in made my targeting go even more viral, because at this point, my targeting had turned racial. And what was happening was the people in my close circle kept calling me and warning me that Indiana was a sundown state. And what that is meaning it's one of those states where there are a lot of racists, and basically you have to worry about being hung from a tree after the sun goes down. That's what a sundown state refers to. I'm sorry to offend you if you're of a different race. I'm just really trying to explain to you what that means, and trying to explain to you why my targeting turned racial, why I believe it turned racial in Indiana. Because the thing that happened with the homeless man, although he was of a different nationality, I don't think that's why my targeting went viral. They were just doing vigilante group punishment. They felt like I was this person that abused homeless people, and they were all trying to punish me. It wasn't racial yet. It didn't turn racial until the people in my close circle kept calling me and giving me these heads up or these warnings about Indiana being a predominantly white state or a sundown state, or be careful, you don't want to be hanging from a tree, these type of things like that. And of course my car is bugged, I'm targeted, and they're hearing this. They're already having this warped perception of me. And so they're like, oh, the bitch comes from a prejudiced family too. Well, let's get her, right? And zooming by and all the stuff that they're doing, right? And so it turned worse, my targeting. Then I had that police officer pull me in. I'm sure he was privy to everything that was going on, obviously. And he pulled me over, and when he came out his vehicle, he was screaming at me. He was on 10 already. Listen to this video, y'all. If you want to hear about the racial things that happen in Indiana and my response, my negative adverse reaction to it, you can listen to my part 1 gaslighting and programming of the targeted individual video. Because although I talk about it in my full story, that part of my targeting in particular is discussed prevalently in this part 1 video. So please check out that part 1 video and you can really hear the rundown of everything. I'm not going to go into the details right now because I can already tell that this video is going to be an hour long if I don't start to try to wrap it up. I'm trying to, my goal is to get it to be under an hour long like the last video. I just made it by 2 minutes with the last video. Anyway, so that's basically what was going on. Those conversations were happening. I had that run-in with the law enforcement officer where I felt the need to record him because instantly, as soon as he pulled me over and got out his car, he was screaming at me at the top of his lungs, and I was terrified for my life. So that's what made one of the things that made my targeting go even more viral after the homeless man situation, and that was when I started noticing activity with law enforcement, ambulances, fire trucks, helicopters flying overhead. That's when all of that activity started, was after my run-in with the law enforcement officer. Because before that interaction, it was literally just civilians stalking me. I wasn't seeing law enforcement. I'm sure they were privy to what was going on, but they were taking a sit back. But then when I had that interaction with that law enforcement officer, that was when they got involved, and that was when my targeting went even more viral. So anyways, things just turned racial over there in Indiana. Check out that video I just referenced if you want to hear the story. But my reaction to all of the abuse, you know, the street theater, the racial rhetoric, etc., my reaction to that was when I got down to Florida after 2 months of dealing with that in Indiana, you know, even to the point where my life was in jeopardy one night. You know, I talk about that in that video I just referenced as well. This incident that happened when I was on the road at 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, where they kind of tried to jam my car in, and this Caucasian man came out. And again, I don't want to say it was racial, but likely it was because of the conversations in my car. You know, I think this is what created that situation. He came out with his shirt off and a crowbar in his hand, you know, instead of power walking to my car. And by the grace of the Most High, I got away. So I just want y'all to listen to that video and you'll hear the full rundown of that. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. But just understand it was 2 months straight of me dealing with racial gang stalking, right? And just forget about just the racial, just straight up covert and overt harassment for 2 months straight before I got down to Florida, before I decided to leave Indiana and realize, okay, this is a bust, this ain't working. You know, I got to go back basically home is what I realized because everything had been sabotaged. So I went back down to, in my rental, down to Florida. And the reason I say back down is because when I left Island, the trajectory that I took was that I stopped in Florida, caught a Greyhound bus, which I bitterly regret. I wish I had just forked out the money and paid for the plane ticket because I think that interaction with the homeless man would have never happened. But anyway, took the Greyhound bus from Florida and went through the different states, ended up in Indiana. But anyway, so I took the rental that I had paid for in Indiana, drove it down to Florida, and eventually, you know, purchased a car off of Carvana because I had really good credit at the time. This was before my credit got screwed up. I was able to get a car off of Carvana for very cheap. You know, I had a very low car payment. It was like $150 or something like that a month because my credit was so good. So I had that car, and you know, a lot of crazy stuff was happening. Wasn't even able to hold down a stable job or even get a stable job for that matter. And so I ended up doing DoorDash in my car, and I was literally doing just enough to pay my car note. Just barely, you know, and eventually things got so bad I ended up coming back here to this island, right? But before I came back, I was staying in my car in Florida. That's how bad things had gotten for me. And, you know, due to what was happening to me in reaction to the months and months, it had been about 3 months at this point of overt and covert harassment. I sat in my car and I shared some extremely offensive, poor grammar. I shared extremely offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda. And I said some adverse things about different races, nationalities, etc. Things that I don't stand by, things I've already apologized for. I've already proven I'm not a prejudiced person. You know, if you listen to my story, where I'm talking about shortly before I became targeted, so shortly before I graduated from college, moved back home and sent the text, those Airbnb incidents that preceded me sending that text, if you listen to those stories, you'll hear me talking about my boyfriend James, and I keep mentioning that in these recent videos because it's crazy that they're trying to paint me as prejudiced. And I stayed in the Airbnb with James in my second Airbnb where the weird incidents were occurring. I stayed in there with him for about 5 months, and he was Caucasian. He was a Caucasian man from Colombia. So I don't have an issue with people of different races. You know, I even said adverse things about the holidays. Obviously, I've proven that too. Obviously, I don't have an issue with the holidays if I cooked a Thanksgiving meal in 2021, shortly before leaving Island. So again, these are reactions to abuse, but this is what they do. Abuse you and then hone in on your adverse reaction, hone in on the inappropriateness of your reaction. That same video I played at the beginning, the reactive abuse video. That's how the program works. So anyways, check out this video. I showed it several times too. with the thumbnail of the oxtails loading, you can see I prepared, a Thanksgiving meal in 2021. Let me hop over to Facebook and show y'all, if you don't want to sit there and watch that video. Right there, right before I left Island. Remember I told you I left 2022. I left summer of 2022. I resigned from my teaching job. So last year, summertime, resigned from my teaching job and chose to try to relocate because of the targeting. This was the year prior, right? 2021, Thanksgiving. I prepared a Thanksgiving meal. That's to tell you I'm not a prejudiced person and I don't have an issue with the holidays. It's obvious it was a reaction to what was happening to me. Nobody told me to post a Thanksgiving meal. I couldn't have foretold that this would happen to me, that I would say offensive things about the holidays a year after, so come on. This was a Thanksgiving meal I prepared, and you can see it's not a traditional Thanksgiving meal because I'm going to be real with you. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. My belief system doesn't permit me to, but I'm not against it, and I don't have an issue with people of different beliefs, and I've always respected people of different beliefs. So it was to the point where I was seeing all these delicious meals on Facebook on Thanksgiving Day in 2021. This was when I had my apartment, and I decided to throw something together for myself just because I wanted to be in things, and I wanted to eat delicious food too. So I wrote this post and I said, although I do not celebrate Thanksgiving, y'all can see the date, right? November 25th, 2021. I said, although I do not celebrate Thanksgiving, I wanted to be in things, and that's just island slang, y'all. I wanted to be in things, so I wanted to be eating good food too. I wanted to be in things and eat copious amounts of yummy food like everyone else, so I threw together a quick menu for today. Yes, all of this food is for my greedy ass. Again, island slang, guys, my greedy ass. Happy vacay/family time. Regardless of what your beliefs are, I hope you are enjoying this vacay. That's the most high right there. Because nobody told me to write that post. I just genuinely felt that way. So it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know that this would be like a saving grace for me a year later when I put my foot in my mouth and said the things that I said in reaction to the abuse I was receiving. Anyway, I'm going guys. I'm going too deep in. That's not all I created either. I also made some chicken wings, and you can see some macaroni pie there in the background, right? And then I also made cookies. Like, I was really, like, I put together a full meal for Thanksgiving Day, even though I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. And I wrote that little post that I wrote. So that's to tell y'all, right? I'm not a prejudiced person, and I'm not against different beliefs or holidays. I respect different beliefs and religions. I've never had an issue, and I don't have a history of saying offensive things about people of different nationalities, ethnicities, belief systems, etc. I even dated, again, I reiterate, a white man named James from Colombia for 5 months when I was staying in Airbnbs, right there in 2020, shortly before coming home and sending the text message. So anyways, just understand I'm not a prejudiced person. It was a reaction to the prejudice gang stalking that I dealt with in Indiana. And I believe what they were doing was a reaction to the conversations they heard in my car. Now, they shouldn't have been in my car listening to my conversations anyway, but also, too, I do understand what was being said in my car was offensive. And this is why I was like, why are you guys, like, saying the stuff you're saying? And I'm pretty sure my car is bugged. I don't want problems. I'm not going to go into too much more, but I was just like, I kept trying to shut them up when they were saying certain things because I'm like, what the hell? They're saying those things about sundown state and predominantly white state and this and that, and I'm hearing the revving in the background. So I'm just like, what the heck? But anyway, so that's what happened. This is where this race thing was created because my reaction to all of that abuse for the 2 months that I was in Indiana was to share some offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda in my car in Florida. And not only did I offend or say offensive things about people of different races, I also said offensive things about Christians. I was on a roll. I said offensive things about just about everyone because I was angry and reacting to what was happening to me. That's the long and short of it. And they honed in, like what you do with reactive abuse, like what they do to targets in this program. They honed in on my negative reaction and the inappropriateness of my reaction to their abuse. That's what happened. So anyways, I'm trying to tell you about this dream though, so you can understand where the racial stimuli comes from. So that's like another elephant in the room. There are many. I can barely breathe. There's so many elephants in this damn room. But that's another elephant in the room. It's about this racial thing. And so in the car, I've been very clear and I've been very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like my brain went blank. I've been making sure to stay away from anything regarding race because I'm so freaking angst about the things I shared in my car and what resulted from it. I have been trying to stay away from any topic resulting in race. Anything that has, not resulting in, anything related to race. I've been trying to avoid it, right? Anything I see about race, they try to throw me a video about race, I take it off. I try to avoid anything that has to do with race. I don't want to offend anyone ever again. I'm like traumatized at this point. And so it's just odd to me that I had this dream because I wasn't thinking about that. I hadn't been watching any videos about that. So again, it seems like dream manipulation. And again, like they're trying to test me with this dream. But I'm sitting in this van after I had that major, in-depth, vivid dream where, it felt like I was being chased and trying to survive the whole dream. I'm sitting in this van and somebody's sitting in the front. Again, I can't remember the face. And we start talking about credit score. Why the hell would we be talking about that? I wasn't even looking at any videos about credit score. Before I fell asleep, I was actually listening to the last video I created where I was talking about thought manipulation and dream manipulation. So I feel like that's why they likely did that shit to me too. But that's not an excuse because I just made that video yesterday, right? But also yesterday morning, I was sent a very vivid dream. I told you all about that dream just now, a little while ago. So I'm hearing Rev in the background like, oh, that's why they did it, because you did the video about dream manipulation. But what about the dream that I had yesterday morning? Anyway, so there's always going to be a reason to do something to me, like I'm telling you. Anyway, so I was, so in the dream I was sitting there talking to the person in the front of the van, and somehow we started talking about credit score. I don't even know how the hell we got talking about that because, like I said, I certainly wasn't thinking about that or watching anything about that before I went to sleep, which is why I'm almost certain that it was dream manipulation and also just the vividness of the dream. Anyway, so while we're talking about it, it turns into a conversation about race. And they start talking about the fact, I started arguing with them. I don't even know how the argument got to this, but it started turning into me arguing with them about the fact that Caucasian people typically have better credit than African Americans. And I was telling them the reason being is because although technically you don't inherit credit score from your parents, you do tend to have the credit score, or you are more likely to have the credit score that your parents have. And so I was just arguing and trying to make my point, and I was being very careful, even in this dream, although I didn't even realize I was being baited. I don't talk about race. This is to tell you they sent that shit to me. Even if I'm right about what I'm saying, I'm never going to argue about race again. I don't even want to be attached to anything like that. So this is why I know they sent that shit to me, right? Or I suspect that they sent that to me. But I was just arguing and proving my point of why I felt like African Americans have a lower credit score. And so I started hearing rev, and I'm assuming what was happening was in real life they were revving because they're sitting there watching my dream like it's a movie, I guess, on the computer screen. If you understand how this technology works, they can see your thoughts and your dreams as clear as you can watch a movie on a computer screen, right? So anyways, I'm assuming they were sitting there kick back, watching it like a movie. And I guess when I started saying the things that I was saying, and I made sure not to say anything offensive, I didn't say anything derogatory. I started hearing revving in the dream, but I'm realizing now it was likely somebody in real life revving by, and this is why it manifested in my dream. But I started hearing revving in the dream. So I said, did I say something offensive? I said that in the dream. And then do you know a cavalry of army people came up to me in the dream? And in the front was a Caucasian guy, and he had like a bob on. And he kind of looked like a surfer dude. And he was just like showing me this billboard, this sign, and I was trying to read what the sign said. But before I could read what the sign said, I ended up waking up. And then as soon as I woke up, I'm hearing revving. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, I didn't say anything offensive. I made sure everything that I said I was saying, I was articulating and making sure not to say it in an offensive way. But the conversation in and of itself could be considered offensive. And I wouldn't have had that conversation naturally. They know I've been trying to stay away from topics about race. I'm so angst about that. So I know they sent that. I strongly suspect that they sent that dream to me and baited me because they didn't get the reaction they wanted in the other two dreams. I passed with flying colors, so let's send the bitch another dream. I'm sorry to say the bitch, but this is how I feel like they're viewing me. They keep sending me stimuli about me being a bully and monster and bitch and all this stuff, right? So I'm thinking that this is the perception, the false, warped perception. So this is why I refer to myself as that. I don't think I'm a bitch. I'm just saying what their mindset likely is. So anyway, so I went and pulled up something to prove my point, and I'm not really trying to argue about this, but I was just trying to prove what I was trying to say in that dream, and I didn't say anything derogatory about race either. I was just trying to explain that likely there are people that come from the hood that end up being rich. So let me not be ignorant. I know you can come from any type of background and end up, turning out different than your parents, but I'm just saying likely. So finishing my point from the last video, guys, or the last clip, as I was saying, I would not have talked about the topic in person. Again, I strongly suspect it was dream manipulation to try to catch me up, just like the two prior dreams I had been sent. But anyways, addressing what I was saying in my dream, I just wanted to show y'all proof of what I was saying. So I was saying basically, typically, you're going to have the same credit score as your parents. Not necessarily, right? But typically, what your background is will determine how you turn out. That's typical. Sometimes you can come from the hood, right, and become rich. You may have a totally different financial standing to your parents. But going by statistics, just like with, I'm not, people like to say genetics, right? When you have certain family history of illnesses in your family, for instance, high blood pressure, diabetes, right? People like to say that's genetics. It's not. Diabetes is not natural. High blood pressure is not natural. But typically, you see a family history of diabetes and high blood pressure because typically families have the same customs and traditions, right? The same diets. So whatever your parents ate typically is what you eat. Not always. Of course, there are people that end up different to their parents. You might grow up and you might eat different to your parents. But typically, in families, you'll see that the same diets are passed down, the same traditions, right? So this is why if you see a family with a history of diabetes or high blood pressure, it's typically because they have the same diet. They're not eating healthy. And so this is what I was trying to say with the credit. That's an analogy to the credit score thing. Typically, you're going to have the same credit score as the family you come from. Not necessarily, and I understand that. I'm not ignorant. But I'm just saying typically that's the case. So in this argument that I was having in this dream that was obviously trying to bait me, that I would have never had in person, the point I was trying to make was that in Caucasian families, typically they have a higher credit score because they own typically more things. They do have more of a financial standing. Typically they own more land. Typically they own more property. And so those things are passed on to their children. So their children will typically have a higher credit score. I'm not saying that's always the case. There are African Americans that own land, that own property, and the kids have good credit scores. But that's why I was saying that the percentage of credit score in America, you'll see that Caucasian people typically have a higher credit score than African American people. And so I went to look it up to see if what I was saying was correct. And I saw this: a number of factors may influence Black and Hispanic communities' access to utilization of credit compared to other racial groups. People of color are more likely to be considered credit invisible. Why is that? Because we don't own as many things. We don't own as much. That's why we're credit invisible. So typically we'll start with no credit score and have to build from the ground up. Meaning they have no credit history at all. Black and Hispanic communities may distrust financial communities. Now, I don't feel that way. I'm just reading to y'all what I looked up, right? But let me now show you the actual statistics. Right? So it says credit card ownership by race and ethnicity. Asian, 93%, white, non-Hispanic, 88%, Hispanic, 77%, Black, non-Hispanic, 72%. Then let me actually show you all. Black and Hispanic Americans often have lower credit scores. CNBC posted this, right? Black and Hispanic Americans often have, now look, they're making noise because I'm making sense. Now again, I would never be pushing this. After what happened to me in my car in Florida, I guarantee you I would not, even whether I'm right or not, I'm never going to be having a conversation about race. I'm not stupid after what I've been through. I'm terrified about that subject matter. And anytime they try to sensitize me with their shadow networking software and send me stuff about race, I'm always avoiding it like the plague, and they see me doing that. So they were trying to bait me with the dream I had. Let me not bear false witness. I suspect, because remember I told you earlier in the video, the other two dreams that with stimuli that would seems to have been sent to me that I passed with flying colors. So now they send me, I suspect, a dream about race, right? So anyways, I'm having this argument about credit score in the dream, and I never would have done that in person with everything that's happened. But now I'm just defending what I was saying in my dream. And I didn't say anything derogatory about race either. Everything I said was factual. It wasn't fodder, it wasn't gossip, and it wasn't subjective or biased. It was fact. Anyway, so you can see Black and Hispanic, and CNBC posted this, so this is not Wikipedia or some source that's not credible. Black and Hispanic Americans often have lower credit scores. Here's why they're hit harder. Credit scores in the U.S. aren't working for many Black and Hispanic Americans who typically have lower levels of credit worthiness than other racial groups and report feeling the system is stacked against them. Now, I don't even know what this says, guys. I just clicked on the title, I'm reading it, but I know it's going to support what I'm saying regardless. About 54% of Black Americans report having no credit or a poor to fair credit score, which is considered to be any score below 640. According to a recent survey of 5,000 U.S. adults by Credit Sesame, about 41% of Hispanic Americans report falling into this category as well. In contrast, 37% of white Americans report having bad or no credit, and only 18% of Asian Americans report similar credit circumstances. While the credit system was created to be blind, this data shows that Black and Hispanic Americans are being unfairly shut out of the system, Jay Moon, general manager of credit at Credit Sesame, said in a statement. Debt and saving levels play a role in credit scores. Credit scores, which range from 300 to 850, are based on a number of factors, including account payment history, number of accounts open, the length of your credit history, and the amount you currently owe. Your age, race, salary, employment history, and where you live are not factored in. While race may not be an explicit factor, the financial situations that are common for many Black and Hispanic people do play into credit worthiness. Over half of Black Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, which could affect their payment history and the rate at which they use their credit to get by. In contrast, only about 44% of Americans overall report running out of money before payday, according to Credit Sesame. Additionally, Black Americans tend to have higher rates of student loan debt than the average person, and only about half own a credit card, which can be a significant help in building credit if it's used correctly. Moreover, 30% of Black and 25% of Hispanic Americans feel they never had a chance to build good credit and believe that the system was stacked against them from the start. In fact, 30% of Black Americans and 27% of Hispanics report they were misinformed or tricked during their first experiences with credit. Only about 18% of white and 15% of Asian Americans say they were similarly deceived. Poor credit has long-reaching consequences. Okay, I don't need to read that part. So this kind of supports what I was saying, guys. Not totally, but it does kind of support what I was saying. It seems to me like not only are they saying it's because of where they come from, why certain things are happening as far as their credit goes, but they're also saying that they feel like it seems to me there's some sort of prejudice within the credit system in and of itself. Like they're not receiving the same advice as their counterparts. I don't know if that's the case or not. You know, that might be the case too. But I think what happens is it has to do where you come from. And it has to do with basically like what I was saying. If you come from a family that has good credit and has that understanding and owns property, typically you're going to have that same lifestyle. You're going to be afforded the luxury of that same lifestyle. And so this is what I was talking about. So it kind of supported what I was saying. Anyway, guys, so this is what I meant. I wasn't trying to offend anybody. I would have never even had the conversation in person. After what I've been through, I'm freaking terrified about the race topic. I am avoiding that thing like the plague, and they know that too. So I think that's why they sent that dream. I think they were trying to set me up or catch me up. I suspect. I don't want to bear false witness. Because of the other two dreams I told you was sent to me. But this third dream was like, it came out of nowhere. I wasn't talking about credit before I went to sleep. I wasn't watching a video about credit before I went to sleep. Definitely wasn't talking about race. I've been avoiding it again like the plague. So for me to randomly have this dream where at first they're chasing me, I'm running for my life from three dudes in a house, right? I told y'all how the dream started, very vivid dream. Then all of a sudden I escape them, right? I get through the window. First of all, I told them, there's cameras watching. They're still chasing me aggressively, you know, and it seemed like they had sinister intent. So then I hop through the window. Somehow I end up in a pool, and I'm swimming, still trying to escape. I hop over the side of the pool, and the next thing you know, I'm in the van with this person, I still can't remember the face, having this debate about credit. Like, what? And credit and race. Why would I have that kind of conversation after everything I've been through? So this is where I started I don't know, it's just this heated debate trying to explain my point of view of why I felt like Caucasian people had better better credit scores, or a higher percentage of better credit scores than African American people. That was the argument in the dream. And I'm like, in real life, I would have never had that argument, especially after everything that's happened. I have been avoiding, again, the race topic like the plague. But this conversation started. I don't even know how it started. I can't even tell you where in the dream it started. It's like, this is to tell you it likely was them, right? Randomly, I'm sitting in this van and I'm having this debate about credit score, and it turns into this race thing. And so this is where I was just defending my point, and I was just saying, likely if you have parents that have a good credit score, you're going to have a good credit score, because likely they're going to educate you on what the things you need to do to have a good credit score. Not only that, if you come from a family that is financially stable, likely you're going to be financially stable. That's just how it works. So this is what I was trying to explain with my debate. I didn't say anything derogatory about race. You know, I'm very careful about that. Even in this dream where I didn't realize I was dreaming and being baited, I didn't say anything derogatory about race. I was literally just stating facts and using my explaining what my point of view was on it. So I just want to make a video documenting, again, dream manipulation, and then I also wanted to show y'all evidence supporting what I was saying. So that's all. This is where I was coming from. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Peace out.